Welcome to the Swedish Association of Foreign Affairs. This interview is hosted by our web journal Utpost.org, and with us tonight we have the honor to have the Israeli ambassador, Mr. Benny Dagan. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Ambassador, how do you perceive the Swedish media coverage of the recent crisis in Gaza?
Well, I think it has been pretty professional. Of course, you can find different views, as you can find in any other democratic state. The only thing I think that I would comment on, and I don't think it's typical to Sweden, I think it's typical to all media now in the world because of the variety of media and the need to work very quick. A lot of times they report on issues and they do not always verify the information, and therefore distortion are created, not because of bad intentions, but I think because of the issues of to try to be there fast and immediately after the event took place. So that creates some problems, especially in situations of war, situation of confusion, where you get all kinds of allegations, you get different or sometimes contradictory stories, and you don't have time to check them. That is one of the issues that I think media should pay very much attention to.
Do you think this applies as well to the Israeli media?
I think it applies to all. I think it's an international, I don't know if it's a problem, that's the nature of business, that people immediately put judgment sometimes without having the full scope of what really happened on the ground. And that creates confusions. Like example, we were during the operation in Gaza, we were accused that we bombarded the school of UNRWA, international organization. Now it turned after a couple of weeks, and UNRWA, they admitted that it was a mistake. It was not the school that was attacked, but our soldiers operated against operatives, terrorists of Hamas nearby. So, sometimes it takes time, but what I'm happy about that at the end the truth comes up, and that is very important.
Okay. Yesterday, you, Mr. Ambassador, were attacked by activists while holding a lecture similar to this one in Stockholm. We, as an independent association, of course, condemn these kinds of actions. We think it's very improper, and we believe in the importance of letting people express their opinions in order to construct a dialogue. Do you also agree on this?
Absolutely. I mean, that is the nature. I mean, it's a free society here, a democratic state like my state. That is something that we are very much used to go out to speak to people. As we expect foreign diplomats when they come to our country to go and talk freely to the Israeli public. They can go and wherever they go. But I know that what happened yesterday does not represent the Swedish people. It's a small group of people who abuse the right to express their your views. I would listen to their views, I would argue with them, but when you start with the violence, of course there is no end to it. You don't know where you end up, and we've seen situations in history where people started with violence and then it created a much more problematic situations.
So in the light of this importance to have a dialogue, how do you perceive this when the government, Israeli government, and also other governments of the world refuse to engage into talks with Hamas? Isn't that a way of isn't that negative for the dialogue, for a constructive?
Not really, because I think the position is much more complex than that. Nobody, including Israel, has closed the door on Hamas. But what we said, that there is a certain history of the peace process. And if you want to be partner to this process, you have to, of course, to accept these rules. And the rules are internationally accepted. They are mentioned in UN Resolution 1850, and they talk about the need to recognize the state of Israel, to renounce terrorism, and to accept previous agreements between Israel and Palestinians, the Palestinian Authority.
But isn't that a little bit of a contradiction that we just agreed upon, that it is important to have a dialogue anyway?
Yeah, but you can't really have a substantial dialogue with somebody who claims publicly that he wants to destroy you. I mean, you have to have a certain civilized rules in that kind of political business or diplomatic engagement. And the rules are very clear. There is a certain history of the peace process. Certain agreements have been established, not just between us and the Palestinians, but we have peace with Egypt, we have peace with Jordan, and therefore we know what it takes to make a peace. If somebody is still of the idea officially that he would like to destroy us, then the question is why he should be a partner to a peaceful way to solve the problem. So it's a contradiction in their position. If they want to be partners, they have to choose strategically if they are for peace or for the destroying of the state of Israel. It's very simple.
Okay. Last question, Mr. Ambassador. Do you believe that taking consideration of the Holocaust and that the collective self-view of the Israeli people as victims makes you a little bit incapable of seeing other people as victims, in this case Palestinians?
Well, we don't see ourselves as victims. That I think the real difference between us and some of, not all, but some of the Palestinians, because the tragedies that we suffered, first of all, there was no tragedy like that in the history of any people. But we, after that suffering, we have rebuilt, we established the state of Israel. We engaged on development, not on the issue of destroying another people or another state. So we focused our energy in the right direction. Others, I think, even if they suffer tragedies, continue to inflict on their own peoples because of that, official doctrine of destruction. They inflict suffering on their people, and forever they are going to be kind of refugees or victims or people who are unable to solve the problems. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for
Thank you very much.
participating in this interview.
Okay.
This clip can be seen on www.utpost.org, amongst other interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.